Hey YouTube, this is Jaden coming at you with a video, and today I'm going to be giving you more tips on how you can just become a better player. There's still quite a few young players that are still new to the game out there, not just at my locals, but I'm pretty sure that there's new players for Vanguard all over the world, and I'm pretty sure there's some players that have just recently started that are asking themselves, well, I just want to know maybe some things I can do to maybe get better or play better. And my theory is basically if I'm learning these lessons on how to be a better player, it's not worth anything if I can't share them. So I want to give you guys 5 more tips. I've done one once before, 5 tips that make you a better player. I'm going to do another one here for you. So I have 5 more tips just that will help you become better, and it might give you something to think about. So anyway, let me get into these tips with you. I'll kind of elaborate on each one and explain what I mean. The first one is be aware of your opponent's effects. There are so many times that I've been playing games where they won't know what a certain card does. Guys, when your opponent puts a card into play, you have the right as the opponent to read it. You have the right to ask your opponent, "May I please read?" Where they hand you the card and you can read it, and if you have questions, you can ask them if you're understanding the effect properly. Now, they do not have to tell you how to stop it. They just have to tell you if when you say, "Okay, so the card does this. Do I understand that right?" They have to say yes, or they have to tell you. They can answer that. But you should always read a card if you don't know what it does. Or if you don't think the card does that, and you think possibly they might be cheating, or you might think that they might be misinformed, or they might not understand the effect, feel free to say, "Can I read it real quick?" And then read the card, and if you think that they're mistaken in any way, have a conversation about it to where you get the effect on both sides. And for instance, if you happen to be in a tournament and you don't know, call a judge over and say, "Hey, I don't think he's doing this effect properly. He disagrees. What's the deal here?" So know what your opponent's effects are. That is very crucial. And also with that, I don't think I need to say, make sure you know your effects. If you put the card in your deck, make sure you know what it does, to where if someone just showed you the picture, you could just go, that's like mainly in Rester, drop 1, draw 1. That's Dragonic Overlord at the end. If his attack hits, Counterblast 2, drop 2, Counterblast 2, drop a copy, and restand him. You need to be able to just know that instantly when you see it. 2. Don't always feel that you have to attack the Vanguard. This is a really, really big one. Whenever I play newer players or players who haven't been playing or have researched or learned or strategized as much as I have, excuse me, and please be aware before I go on, I am not insulting anyone's game style plays. If there are certain ways that you play, that's great. This is just my opinion, so I'm giving you my ideas. So please do not feel I'm insulting you, I'm calling you a bad player or anything. I'm just trying to give you better tips that can make you better. So let me reiterate that. Don't always think you have to attack the Vanguard. I see this with a lot of younger players when they start playing the game. They think, I have to beat them as quickly as possible. So Vanguard, Vanguard, Vanguard. Ooh, I hit a stand trigger. Stand back up, Vanguard. There are some players that just because they can attack the Vanguard, that's what they're going to do. Now, you have to attack the Vanguard, your opponent's Vanguard, in order to win the game. You have to hit their Vanguard to damage them so you can win. But there are some players that I've seen that's all they do. Guys, your opponent's rear guards are very important. You can't just win a game with a Vanguard. You have to have support. So I mean, there are literally some players I've seen where they will do nothing but attack your center row or your Vanguard. And that's all fine and dandy, but that means your opponent is not having to replace rear guards as well as guarding the attacks. So that leaves them to have more cards in their hand. So when your opponent has a problematic rear guard, such as a 10k vanilla, a 12k attacker, something that gains 3k because something's in the soul to make it an 11k, or meet some other standard, or a card like Silent Tom that's really hard to guard against, you might want to figure out a way. I need get rid of that, because your rear guards will, your Vanguard wins you the game normally. Your Vanguard is the thing that wins you the game because of the drive checks and all that. But without your rear guards, you don't have a good battle formation. Your rear guards are just as important as your Vanguard in ways. So keep this in mind. The next time you play somebody, just because you can attack the Vanguard, it's not exactly always the best option. Keep in mind, when you wipe out your opponent's front row rear guards, you're going to have to force them to play another card from their hand. So, in ways, it can sometimes eat their hand away quicker, because you are going to want additional attacks. So just something to keep in mind. That is a big one. Just don't always feel that you have to attack the Vanguard. 3. Know the combos that make your abilities the best they can be. The easiest way I can explain this, I've seen players that when they want to play the Oracle Think Tank clan, the number one card that, when I hear the word Oracle Think Tank, there are very few things that pop in my head. One of the things is Silent Tom. I realize if you're a Japanese player or you play the Japanese meta, Silent Tom may not be a thing anymore, but at least over here, he's still quite popular. And in my opinion, even though cross rides for him are a problem, he's still a good card to have, because he can pick off rear guards pretty good. So think of it like this. If you have Silent Tom and you have a booster behind him, unless he's the 8k booster or a 7k to at least be 15, he's not at his full potential, because keep in mind, Silent Tom prevents your opponent from guarding with grade zeros. So the best way to always use your Silent Tom is have an 8k behind him. Having Silent Tom and Gemini as a 16k row with Silent Tom is pretty good, because that makes him harder to deal with. And if you can put a trigger on top of that, that makes it even better. So, and there are just other things like, I can't really think of anything now. I'm pretty sure you can think of this and understand properly. If you ever have a question about maybe, is there a certain combo I can do with this card? Is there a certain combo for this deck that I just haven't seen? Please feel free to send me your deck list and say, hey, do you have a suggestion here? Do you have an idea? I'm open to that. If you guys want to send me deck lists and I can give you my ideas, I'm very, very open to that. I help people with my decks I help people with their decks at my locals all the time. I welcome it. I love doing that. If you're and you can tell me what you're looking for. Tell me, I'm more of an aggro player, but I don't know how to make this deck better. I'm more of a control player, but I don't know how to make this deck better. I'm a budget player. How can I make this deck good without having to spend a lot of money? I am open to helping anybody that I can. That is why I play the game and I learn everything I can, is so I can help other players no matter what kind of hurdles they have to deal with. Whether it's a style of play or they just are more of a budget type player, which is fine, I don't care. If you have a deck list and you would like to send it to me and say, can you please look at this and tell me what you think I'm missing? I've done that with a couple of players on here before, and I don't think I've ever said that. So if you have a deck that you just want someone else to take a look at and get a second card fighter's opinion on it, I am more than willing to do that. So all you got to do is send me your deck list and tell me what you want. So, just throwing that out there. 4, try and have an idea on your opponent's game strategy after the first few turns. Try and have an idea of what they're trying to do, like what their main objective is to win the game. For example, if you're playing a Royal Paladin deck and they keep soul charging, think, here comes Soul Saber. If you're playing a Majesty deck, it should be pretty apparent pretty quickly if they keep searching out copies of Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark and Majesty Lord Blaster. If you are playing a Full Moon deck for Oracle Think Tank against one, you should know they're trying to set up to use her ability to draw extra cards. If you're playing against an Aqua Force deck, have an idea of what they're trying to do and figure how that player works, because some players who play the same deck might go about things differently. So just throughout the first few turns, you have to be able to gather enough information. You'll know what clan your opponent is playing the second you start the game. So just trying after the first turn or two that you've seen them play, that you have an idea of what they're trying to do. Even if it's just a little thing and then it can grow, just make sure you follow with them to where you can figure out, okay, this is what they're trying to do, this is what I need to do to try and prevent them from doing that. So just keep that in mind. And finally, this is the biggest one. And this, I want to take you all the way back. I need to look this up one more time. I want to take you all the way back to the season 1 of Vanguard, episode 34. Yeah, that's right, 34. This is when Aichi was still very new to the game. They had just lost in Nationals, and he was still learning how to be a good player. And he is playing the girl from Team Caesar, Yuri, and Misaki is watching them, and she makes the comment, "Wow, you've lost 10 straight games." And then Aichi is like, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong." And Yuri says, "Well, Aichi, can I please take a look at your deck?" And he says, "Sure." So Yuri looks through his deck, and he says, "Well, how is it?" And she says, "Honestly, it seems not that bad, but I don't see a winning image." And that's what my 5th tip is. Have a winning image, to steal it from Yuri. And by this, that means have a clear idea of how you're going to win that game. Have a clear idea of what you're trying to do. Because if you've noticed, before that episode of 34, everything prior to that, Aichi didn't have an idea of how he was going to win the game. He was just playing cards from his hand and just doing what abilities came and just making attacks. He was just going through the game without having a strategy before he started. He was just playing. And that is a big thing, guys. When you play a clan, no matter what kind of clan you want to play, you need to have an idea of what you're going to do or what your finish is going to be. You need to have an idea of how you're going to finish your opponent off, how you're going to bury them and win the game. Dragonic Overlord the end. You want to eat through their hand, and then when you're ready to end the game, you want to attack their Vanguard and make it to where it's going to be hard for they either have to take it and you'll be able to stand him back up. You might attack a rear guard to ensure it hits, so you can do that. Or for Aqua Force, you want to pick away their resources until they literally just run out. Pale Moon, you want to just keep soul charging until you unload the soul and destroy them. I mean, it doesn't matter what clan you want to play, but you need to have an idea of what you want to do. You need to tamper your deck to fit that strategy, to fit that winning image. And that is one of the biggest things that you can do to improve any deck. You need to decide what to do. For instance, Barkle is Soul Saver's setup thing. That's why Soul Saver was so easy to pull off before Barkle was banned as the starter, because when you use Barkle one turn to call out Flogel from the deck, and then the next turn you called Lou out, you use Lou's ability to move Lou, Flogel, and Barkle to the Soul under your grade 1 to Superior Ride Blaster Blade. That way next turn you could just ride Soul Saver on top of that and you were already set. And that is the exact example. That is actually what Aichi's winning image was at that point. So it's just something to think about. You need to have an idea of what you're going to do to finish your opponent off. So have a winning image. In closing, let me rephrase those 5 tips one more time. 1. Be aware of your opponent's effects. 2. Don't always feel like you have to attack the Vanguard. 3. Know the combos that make your abilities the best they can be, and if you want help with your deck list, please feel free to send me them, and I'll be more than happy to help you in any way I can, and I will do my best to meet all of the ways that you want your deck to play. 4. Try and have an idea of your opponent's strategy in the first few moves. And 5, have a winning image. I hope this really helps you guys. Please let me know if they do. In the comment section below, tell me what you thought of this video. I'd really appreciate some feedback. Comment, rate, subscribe, thumbs up this video, and I will see you all later, and I hope the tips help.